What do you do when your dream life disappears overnight? Olympian Garrett Scantling knows that feeling all too well. After placing fourth in the decathlon at the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, Garrett was poised for greatness, sponsors, recognition, global stage. Then came the silence, a suspension, two deleted Instagram accounts, no sponsors, and a choice: disappear quietly or rise again. In this episode of Sunday SoulDay, Garrett gets real about what it means to rebuild your identity when everything you thought defined you gets stripped away. No fluff, just truth, grit, and that unshakable spirit that says, I'm still here. Let's welcome him to the show. Welcome to Sunday SoulDay, Garrett.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I am, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you on. I had Brian on, and he and I had an amazing conversation. And I was so grateful that he introduced us. And I couldn't wait to talk to you because we have the track thing in common. And also, you were a former football player. So, I mean, so many things that I can't wait to talk to you about. But let's just dive in. Let's dive right in.
Absolutely.
Like, let's, take it back a little bit because a lot of times when athletes, have incidences in particular sports, they tend to either quit, or think their career is over.
Right.
You actually didn't do that, and so I would love to start there because when did you know football wasn't the end of your athletic story, and how did that lead you into track and field?
Right. So, I always feel like any American young athlete, especially males, their dream is like NFL. Let's go play football. Let's really make it to that pinnacle of your football professional career or something like that. So I felt like that's what I wanted to do. But high school, I had plenty of offers for football. They were all smaller schools, so like Troy, FIU, FAU. And I actually ended up committing to FAU about maybe 4 weeks before signing day. And about 1 week before I was supposed to sign with them, they called me back and said their number one receiver that they had been going after since the beginning decided to decommit from somewhere else and commit to them. And so they were going another way because this receiver had a higher athletic ceiling. I'll never forget that call. I sat in my car. I was so upset. I called my parents. I was like, what now? Like I had no backup plan. And my dad was just like, Garrett, that's life. Adversity will hit you whenever you are not expecting it. And so I realized I had to use track to unlock the doors that I really wanted to go through. And so my senior year track season was like everything to me.
Do or die.
Everything to me. And
Oh my.
so, yeah, I really went for it then. And that's kind of how I transferred from football to track. But even in that moment, it was like, it's something that I didn't kind of see the bigger picture. It was just something that I had to fall back on in that moment. And so, yeah, it has brought me so many places. So I am grateful for that experience because I mean, it's gotten to me to where I am today. So that's big for me.
Wow. Isn't that amazing though? Like, and this is what is such a common denominator that really unites us as humans, as much as we love to divide and, be on opposite sides of things. There's so, like, transitions is such a common, and really grief, because in that moment you were grieving, the fact that they snatched your scholarship away at
Right.
the blink of an eye, and
Yeah.
so it's like that's such a common denominator. Like, how did you, I mean, granted your dad was there to kind of like say, hey, that's life, but like that's a mindset shift, like how did you like maintain your mindset to just like even focus on your plan B, really?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it was difficult. It's always been difficult. I think that
Yeah.
when you have a plan A and it doesn't work out, it's like, all right, I just failed at something. Like that is devastating. And so I just kind of put my head down and kept grinding. I think that that's who I am as a person. Is I just grind, and no matter what the outcome is, it's all about the process for me. And so I think that going through that at such a young age, I felt like it set me up for what I ultimately would face later on in life. I mean, just at every single turn, I feel like there is adversity. And if you don't pick your head up and just grind through it, then I mean, I believe that like that's what makes people who they are. And
Mhm.
so who are you if you can't grind through adversity?
Absolutely. It will, it'll define you one way or another. That's what I like
Exactly.
to say, So,
And I don't like to
like,
be looked at as a failure. So like that's
yeah,
the biggest thing for
no,
me too. So
yeah.
got to keep going.
But I love that, you said so much there. Like, how did you, okay, because you are a decathlete.
Hmm.
So for people who don't know, that is 10 events, okay? Like I I want to know, how did you even get into that? Because they don't have that in high school,
No.
right? So it's like you had to build up to that. Like what sports did you, or what, excuse me, events did you do in track and field like that even led you to do that? Because that's
Yes.
like beast mode
The
track and field.
crazy part of that is that in high school you couldn't pay me to touch the track. Like I didn't want to run for anything. So I loaded in high school. You're only allowed 4 events. And I
Yeah.
loaded my card up with jumping events so that they couldn't put me on the track. Yeah. So my best 2 events are pretty much the hardest events in the decathlon to technically learn, and that's pole vault and high jump. And I started those in 7th grade. And so I started doing that, and I just kind of grew in track and field from that. And then I added long jump and triple jump. I actually won all 4 at my district championships senior year. Like that was kind of the culmination of everything I'd worked for. And I still feel like to this day, like if you are a good pole vaulter and a good high jumper, that is like the best base that you can have for the
Really?
decathlon.
Wow.
I mean, I also like I had size, and so yes, I could throw. Like, I mean, there's still intangibles that like you don't account for that are super important. But I felt like if I could have, the correct form in the high jump, the correct form in the pole vault, like that could unlock so many different doors for me. And so it was a rude awakening when I got to college. Because it's like the first practice I was throwing up, like I was trying to get used to running. Like, I mean, that was just something new to me, but I felt like my coach always tells me it's easier to teach new habits than to unteach old habits. And so I think that was big for me in learning a bunch of different events for sure.
Yes, but my gosh, that's a huge learning curve to go from not running then to running so many different events, from
Exactly.
sprints to longer, races. Like, what was it about the decathlon that kind of drew you in?
I feel like it's just so much. Honestly, the biggest thing was that people just don't want to do it. It's like something that I have that I say like I can do that. Like my body can do that. I still say to this day, like every decathlon I've finished, I've never felt a better feeling in my life, just because you feel so accomplished, and you know that. I mean, track and field's so individual, and when you're doing so many different events, it's like you're fighting through that mentally and physically. And when you're done, it's just euphoric. And that would be the word that I would use. It's unbelievable. And so I appreciate it more than anything else just because of what it's given to me. But it definitely didn't come without its, trials and tribulations. My whole freshman year was just frustration day in and day out, because like learning the throws, like the discus and the shot put, they're so frustrating just because you can't just make something heavy go further just by screaming at it or doing something that you thought you could do in the past. It takes patience, and I think that has taught me so much in my life, just to be patient and understand that things don't happen right away. And so that's kind of what draws me to the decathlon for sure, is that so much work yet so much reward, and that would be my main point of that for sure.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. And it's such a transition though, but I love that you're like not afraid of those challenges, because that's really, it's like I feel like you're part of your career, and we'll get into the bulk of it in a little
Yeah,
bit. It's like you kept transitioning, right? But then also challenging your body through those transitions. Like
exactly.
that is the definition of a champion,
I
And so
appreciate that.
I love that, about you. And it's, I find so many track athletes, there's always so many hurdles and transitions, in track. And
Right.
it's because you're relying so heavily on yourself. It's
Exactly.
like your race, your lane, or you and your throw, it's like there's
Right.
no one else who could do it for you.
Nope.
And so like I love that you talked about patience with shot putting because oh my gosh, okay, I'm naturally a strong girl. Like I'm
Right.
tall, like 5'9.5", and like strong,
Right.
just naturally, as my dad would say, country strong, and
There we
like,
go.
and like, man, I used to just think I could chuck it,
Right.
because I also did the HEP. I trained for the HEP in college,
Uh-huh. So
and
you
like,
understand, like you get
yes,
it.
I do. I appreciate it. And my hat goes off to all of those folks, okay? Because I stayed injured,
Right.
because of it. Like it puts your body through things that like it's almost indescribable,
Yeah.
because you're using your entire body in different ways that you've never used it. It's not natural to throw a shot put. There's
No, it's
nothing
not.
natural about it. But I love that you talked about the patience because that's what it taught me. I am like a true Aries, very impatient, but
Right.
like the shot put like sat me all the way down and was like, nah, you're gonna be patient, girl.
Made
So
you
I
really
love
think.
exactly. So I love it. I love that you talked about that because that's exactly what it did for me. It's like, and you get so excited. It taught me to celebrate even small wins because you get
Right.
so excited for the tiniest little gains, so
Yeah.
I'm like, so anyway, I
100%.
love
It's
that.
a
Love
it's a
you.
slow burn, but it'll get you there for sure. And so
Yeah.
like my freshman year, I and honestly another set of adversity, I actually came in 25th in the NCAA my freshman year. So they take top 24 to NCAAs. And so that was kind of like, all right, now I really got to get into it. And now like I'm addicted to this now. And so like I'm just as a person I'm addicted to getting better. I feel like that's something that everyone kind of has inside of them. It depends on what kind of brings it out of them. And the decathlon surely did that for me.
I love that. Well, take us through your career leading up to Tokyo Olympics, where you placed fourth at the Olympics, right? Just
Right.
shy of the podium. Like, we'll talk about that experience, but kind of run us through your, track career up to that point.
I honestly owe a lot of it to my training partner through college. I got recruited to the University of Georgia. Petros Kiprianou was my coach. He has been my only coach through my career. Um, but after freshman year, when I came in 25th in NCAA, we got a new training partner from Estonia. His name is Michael Weibo. And he's a 3-time Olympian. He's placed at the Olympics. He's done wonderful things in his career. But he kind of came in with a different mindset. Knowing that I was the sophomore, he was the freshman, I felt like I needed to be a little bit better than him. And he came in and his mindset was so focused on track and field. It completely changed mine. And I think that, people always say that Michael won 2 NCAA championships. I was runner up twice. Like people say that he kind of took some things from me, like hardware wise, but at the same time, I always knew how hard he was working. And I like to call him my wild rabbit. I was chasing him the whole time I was in college. And he completely changed my outlook and perspective on how to go to work and how to really put in the work that needs to be done. And so I left college 6-time All-American. I was the only person to ever win 3 SEC championships in a row in the decathlon. Like I said, came runner-up twice in NCAA. So I never really won the NCAA championships. I lost one time by 2 points, which is, I think I had to beat the guy by 1 second in the 1,000 meters, and I beat him by 0.8 seconds. He dove across the line. I didn't dive. Yeah, so like adversity at every single turn, but it was something that I knew that I was going to be really, really good at if I focused on it. And so I think the biggest culmination of everything I had worked for through college was the 2016 Olympic trials. And I went there. I kind of didn't do as well as I was supposed to, ended up coming in fourth. And so they take top 3 to the team. And I decided then that I wanted to be a football player because things didn't work out in track for me. And so after about a year of trying to train, change my body, I actually was signed to the Atlanta Falcons. And I was with them through their off-season program. And the biggest thing that I learned while I was there was how to be a professional. I learned that if you don't show up every single day to do what you're supposed to do, someone else is going to come in and take your spot and do it. And I think that was kind of the biggest lesson that I've learned in sports. Just that if I'm a professional, I got to go in there and treat it every practice like I'm a professional and like I have to get everything out of it that I want to get out of it. And so after that kind of didn't work out, it didn't pan out for me. I was a financial advisor here in Jacksonville for 3 years. So I took a long time away from the sport to kind of gain new perspective about who I was as a person. And honestly, everything brought me back to track. I was like, that is my love. I love the decathlon. I still feel so strong. I feel mentally like I can do this. And having Petros still at the University of Georgia and having him in my corner, he's one of the most loyal people I've ever met. And he'll always back me no matter what it is. He was like, Garrett, come on back. I got a coaching position for you. You can train at the same time. And I was like, perfect. Let's go do it. And obviously COVID happened. And that was kind of the first year that I came back. And so they canceled everything. But it gave me an extra year to train. It gave me an extra year to get my body ready. And so when 2021 came around, I was able to win the U.S. Olympic trials by more than, I think, 400 points. Like I just blew the competition away. And I was kind of primed to medal at Tokyo and kind of do what I needed to do. But the only problem is I think you can see my energy right now. Like that's who I am. I feed off the crowd's energy. I feed off my family's energy if they're in the crowd, and nobody could come to Tokyo. And so I think that was big for me because of COVID. The stands were empty and the only people that were in there were the coaches. So I started that decathlon so slow, it was not even funny. Like my 100 long jump and shot put were some of the worst I had ever done before. And I just kind of felt like I was in a hole. And I remember calling my mom after the high jump, and my uncle answered the phone and was like, Garrett, dude, you're there. Like, just have fun. Like, I mean, nobody can take that away from you. And then after that, I think I ran the 400 out of lane 9. And so I couldn't see anybody the whole race. And so when I ran it out of lane 9, I PR'd by half a second. And that's when everything kind of turned around for me. But if you know the decathlon, you know that it takes all 10 events to string together a really good one. And so even though going into the last event, I knew I had to be 4 seconds behind the Canadian in the 1500, and I had to be 15 seconds ahead of the Australian in order to come in third. So I ended up being 2 seconds behind the Canadian, and I beat the Australian by 10 seconds. So I went for it. If I'm not going to lie to you, like I really, really went for it. I PR'd in the race by a whole 10 seconds, but it just didn't work out because those first 3-4 events, and I really could have gotten more points there, but it taught me more than anything else. I learned who I was in a competition when I felt like my back was against the wall. So it was a lot to kind of process, but then again, I am still to this day super proud of myself with how I handled it, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and just the fact that you were able to step away from the sport, but then still come back and compete at the highest level, like that just says so much about you,
Thank
and
you.
I'm sure you took a lot of those guiding principles from football, from track, into the financial world, into, all the things that you've done.
Absolutely.
And it's such a gift. Our journeys are all a gift, regardless of what they are and what they look like, how many trials or transitions are in there.
Right.
It's such a gift, and I love that you use those gifts, to your advantage at every turn.
Thank
So
you.
I'm like, says so much about you, like as a person, as an athlete. Like, tell me a little bit about, like, because one thing I am curious about is like football and track is so different, like, and I did see a lot of football players come out to the track and train and, kind of get their speed up. And,
Right.
they didn't necessarily compete, but it was more just to train to get faster. Right.
Right.
But like your body needs to be so different to take a hit than it is to,
Exactly.
like, I mean, to be totally blunt, right? It's like,
Yeah.
to take a hit, you had to be so different, bulkier, like stronger, just you're working out completely different. Like,
Right.
what was that like? Like just even transitioning your body.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. I remember going to my physical for the Falcons, and they had a couple guys in there before me. And obviously I could hear what was going on. And the doctor asked them, "Hey, what were your previous injuries?" Guys like, "Well, I've had 3 knee surgeries, like 10 concussions, whatever it was." And I walk in there, I'm like, I had one concussion from getting hit on top of the head with a pole vault pole, but other than that, like, I'm good. And so he's like, "Man, you were lucky." And so, like, I felt like I did right by picking the non-contact sport to do my entire life. But I definitely had to bulk up. I had to, like, I was doing more bench press than I had ever done. I was the strongest that I'd ever been. But I felt like the biggest thing for me was the classroom. Like, I'm a smart person. Like, grades were never a problem for me, college, high school, but it was the transferring what you knew in the classroom to the field. Everything was so much faster. In track and field, everything is rehearsed. Like, you do what you do in practice, it doesn't change in the game. It's the same thing that happens, but you got to know coverages. You got to know how to adjust your routes. You got to know, like, I'll never forget Matt Ryan was my quarterback. And so, like, I had one route that I was supposed to run and I ran it completely wrong and he threw it where I was supposed to be. And he's like, "Yeah, bro, that's not going to work." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, that was one of the biggest adjustments. The other one was, in track and field, you have a voice. And me and Petros, if you watch us when we're competing, it's crazy. Like, we go back and forth because it's about how you feel. And so, like, if I felt like I had something to say, especially in football, I was going to say it. But man, I got berated and screamed at, like, "You don't talk back to me." I was just like, "Oh, right. This might not be what I thought it was." But once again, it taught me so much, and it taught me the lesson that things are different. Like, sports are different. And just because you can change your body and you're athletically good enough, it does not mean that you're going to be able to make it. And so that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from that.
My gosh, I can only imagine. First of all, I've seen those playbooks, and my dad played professional football, and like I don't know how you guys can memorize, or I don't know how you like. It is so technical, and I think that's what I've always respected, really, about so many sports. It's like there's so many technical things that athletes, because they do it over and over and over, they just make it look easy.
Right.
And it's so easy for people in the stands to criticize and to like boo and do all this stuff, like but they have no
Twitter
idea.
fingers.
Never been there. Twitter fingers.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's so true. It's like, I think they don't understand, and track and field's another. It's like, yes, we rehearse over and over and over, but like it is very technical,
Yeah.
like in order to do all the events that you're doing, which I'd love for you to run down for people who aren't as familiar,
Yeah.
like so they can understand like all the body parts that you're using in order to do this like one big race. Like,
Yeah.
tell me, okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk
Okay.
about like what's in the decathlon.
Yeah. So you start off with a 100-meter dash. Then you go to the long jump. Then you do shot put, high jump, and 400. So that's day 1. Day 2 is the 110 hurdles, discus, pole vault, javelin, and then the 1500. And so it is always the same order, but at major championships, so like at the Olympics, I ran the 100 meters at 8:30 a.m. We did the first 3 events, and then we had a 5-hour break, and then the evening session. So I didn't run the 400 until 9:52 p.m. And then I went to bed. I think I passed out in my Normatec boots, which are for compression and recovery. I passed out in my bed, which was cardboard at the Olympics. Like, it was not the greatest comfort level, but once again, you're there, you can't complain. But I had to wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning because I ran the 110 hurdles at 8:30 again. And so I had to make sure I ate breakfast, got to the track, warmed up, and we ran the 110 hurdles at 8:30, and I ran the 1500 at like 7:50 or something like that. So once again, like, I mean, that's almost 24 hours of just
Literally.
pure anxiety, pure competition. Like it was definitely a lot. And so when I finished, my body was done for. Yeah, done for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, and it's like, I don't think people understand, like, you have to keep yourself like fired up,
Right.
like, and even if you're resting, it's like you have to stay, focused during that time. It's
Exactly.
like, it's such a mental, I think track is like even more of a mental game than a lot of other sports,
I agree.
golf too, but like track is so mental because you can get in your head and
Yes.
it can slow you down. It can, mess up your throw. Like it's just such a mental game where you don't have anyone else to rely on.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
you,
you're pushing yourself. And so like
literally.
if you think too much, it's over.
Man, my
100%.
track coach used to tell us, leave your baggage outside the gate.
There we go.
Nobody's coming to get it because they got their own bags to get, So, and I love that. I actually like stole that and I would say that with my team. It's like, it's such a beautiful way to tell people to compartmentalize, like don't bring in what you don't need. That's
Right.
like been my mantra for my life. So like, if I'm doing something, it's like I'm not going to bring any energy in that's not needed for that particular meeting, that
Exactly.
call, like whatever it is. So, and that's really what track is. It's such a mental game. Oh my gosh, like I
But
could talk
that
to you
parallel
about.
is huge. Like, I mean, obviously, it teaches you so much about life and what you are going to face later on, whether it be in your professional or personal. Like, you can carry all those lessons with you, and it completely changes your life. And so, I owe so much to track and field. It is, and I know you probably feel the same way. Like, it's just such a
Absolutely.
wonderful sport.
Yeah, and I didn't compete at the level that you've competed at, but I'm like I still am so grateful
Right.
for the journey that I had in it, and more importantly, what it taught me about myself,
Yeah.
and also to bet on myself, and to put myself in, like I like to say, like track and field athletes are always practicing under pressure. I call it
Right.
pup. And it's like if you're trying to get faster, what do? You do the resistance training so then you can fly, right? It's
Right.
like, so I constantly put myself under pressure, like in so many situations. So I call it practicing under pressure. So like
Yeah.
and even when I would work, like, I would say, okay, normal like recruiter, right, can source maybe like 150 candidates a day, right? Like just on an average,
Yeah.
150, maybe 200. I would set my goal to 300. That is
Wow.
like practicing under pressure,
Just to put some on you.
and
Yep.
just to put some on my back, and so it's like that's been like it's such a gem,
Yeah.
that I've carried in so many things. So it's like I'm able to do a lot more
Right.
because I'm constantly practicing under
And
pressure.
people without those lessons, I mean, they'd get overwhelmed. Let's be honest. And so,
Yeah, no, and I've seen it.
yeah.
Absolutely. I worked in tech, so it's like people were constantly overwhelmed,
Right.
like they're always looking for the work-life balance, and I'm like, I don't believe in that. I don't. We're
Right.
not boats,
Mm-mm.
So, but I want to talk to you about the Olympics because it was such a different experience than what you are striving for, in the next Olympics.
Right.
You're going to have a completely different experience having people in the stands. Like, I could not imagine, because I actually had the privilege of going to the Olympics in Sydney to watch a friend, shout out to Jenny Johnson Jordan.
Hey, all right.
And so many others who I had the privilege of watching them medal, which was just so
Right.
cool. I never cried so much in a short period of time, like celebrating people in the stands. But I, that opening ceremony, like just all the energy from it, you were
Yeah.
robbed of,
Yep.
like it's completely different experience. Like, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, just even your experience going around. Like, I mean, what was it like? Or could
Right.
you be around other athletes? Were you distancing? Like,
Yeah. So we were everyone in the village was tested. So like we didn't necessarily have to social, like we could hang out with each other and
oh,
stuff,
that's at least.
which was nice. Everyone had to have their mask on, like when you were walking around. Yeah. Let's be honest, it was a pain in the butt, but like I knew what I was there for. The good thing about that Olympics was it was solely about your competition. And like there weren't a lot of distractions going on. Like the village was closed off to everyone else. Like it took probably maybe 15 minutes to walk from one side to the other. So it was big enough for you to feel like you were in like a place where you weren't cramped up. The stink thing about it was I couldn't go watch other sports. Like I couldn't go watch the basketball. I couldn't go watch gymnastics. But once again, it made you stay focused. our Team USA's training camp was about 45 minutes outside the village. So like I at least got to see Tokyo. Like we drove from the village to the training camp. And when I tell you, it was skyscrapers when we left and skyscrapers when we got there. Like it was insane. I've never seen anything like it. But once again, like just not having the people in the stands and like not having that energy that, I mean, I'm a screamer. Like whenever I'm competing, if I'm throwing the jab, if I'm throwing shot put, like I'm yelling. And I don't know if that's a part of like my psychological warfare with my competition or whatever it is. It just makes me feel like I'm doing what I need to do. And I just kind of felt like that was missing for the first part of it. Am I grateful for the experience? Absolutely. Like, I mean, I have the rings because of it. Like I did what I needed to do. But I can tell you that there's probably a 25% like motivation. The reason why I'm trying to push for the next Olympics is because I want to get that experience. Like I want that for myself. So yeah, it was completely different. But once again, I felt like it was more about the competition in that Olympics. My family was here in Jacksonville, and so they couldn't come. But my aunt owns a barbecue place here in Jacksonville, and there were about 150 people in the barbecue place with the TVs on. When I was in between events, I looked at my phone and I could see everybody that was supporting me. And so it was at least nice to know that my village was at home. When I got back from Tokyo, they were just as tired as I was. But I think that being able to have it in LA on home soil, I want my whole family there just because I know what they missed out on. And as much as it's for me, it's for them. So it's going to be huge for me.
I'm going to be there.
There we go. Let's go. I have so many students that are going to be there, like so many people that are going to want to come. So I'm excited about it. I really am.
I love it. Well, talk to me about this because when you got back, like, you know, and you've been very transparent about your suspension due to a missed drug test.
Right.
Talk to us about that because I don't think people even know like that you're tested.
Yep.
And also like randomly and also how many times you can miss.
Right.
Walk us through that period. Like what was going on and like, you know, how did you move through that mentally and emotionally?
Right. Yeah. So when I made the Olympics, usually when you are a high level athlete, you get put on a drug testing pool, which is USADA. That's the United States Anti-Doping Agency. And so that's just USA. When I made the Olympics, I got put on USADA and AIU, the Athletics Integrity Unit, which is the international drug testing pool. So I was getting tested by two different organizations at once. I think leading up to my suspension, in 2022, I had been tested 14 times in about 4 months. And so like they were showing up just like, hey, Garrett, I knew my drug testers by first name. Like, it was fine. Like, I mean, when you're at that level, like it's okay. Like, that's cool. That means I'm doing something right. And I do want to reiterate, I'm a clean athlete. That has never been an issue for me. That is never something that I've thought about. But what you have to do is you have to submit whereabouts, which are you have to let the drug testers know where you are within an hour window of every single day. So if you go on vacation, if you go out of town, my second miss, I spent the night at my brother's house, which he lives in Green Cove Springs, which is 45 minutes away from my house. And if you're not there within 30 minutes, that's a miss. And so my first miss was about 2 weeks after the Olympics. I went to my best friend's bachelor party. We were in Arizona. I was having a blast. I wasn't thinking I was having fun. I just made the Olympics. Like I was just kind of being myself. And obviously that's the first miss. I'm like, crap. All right, let's get on it. My second miss was at my brother's. I went to spend the night. I wasn't even thinking about it. I have ADHD, so I'm a forgetful person, like naturally. And so that was always kind of hard for me to keep track of. My third miss. So I was dating someone who lived in Canada at the time. She was also an Olympic athlete. She did the heptathlon. She ruptured her Achilles. And so I booked a flight to go see her that next day. And without thinking, didn't update my whereabouts. I got to Canada and I got a call from my drug testing person. And he's like, Garrett, where are you? And I realized that's when the fight or flight mode kind of activated in my head. And I'm like, all right, like if I tell them where I am, there goes a year. Like if you miss 3 in 1 year, that's just 1 year suspension. That's it. Like that's like, there's pretty much no way to fight it. So what I did on the phone, I was like, hey, I updated my whereabouts already. I was updating them on the phone because I was like, I would rather be at that point. I had qualified for world champs in 2022. I was the number 1 in the world. Like I was supposed to win gold on US soil. They were in Eugene that year. What I did was I told them I had updated my whereabouts. Little did I know they had the exact time I updated it. And they found out it was during the call. So they took that as tampering. And tampering is 3 to 5 years suspension. So it automatically got pushed to 3. And they were like, you can fight this, but if we find out anything else is wrong or like anything else like that you haven't told us, it'll be pushed to 5 years. And I was like, if it's pushed to 5 years, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to come back from that. And so what I did was I accepted it. I mean, it was the hardest thing to accept in my life because it's something that, you know, I felt like I had finally found out who I was as a person. I was Garrett, the decathlete. I was doing something that so many people loved and so many people benefited from me doing that, whether it's their inspiration, whether it's my family and just financially being okay. Like I was doing awesome. And so it was really devastating because I mean, everything got halted immediately. Like I had to watch world champs I think I still went to Portland just to kind of be around it. And like, I remember having to watch it there. It was just so demoralizing, but at the same time, once again, like when I got the call from my football coach that I didn't get the scholarship offer, when I came in 25th out of 24, like I kind of used that a little bit. And I was like, this is just another thing, Garrett. And yes, it's going to be a slow burn and there's no way to fast forward the time. But like, I knew I'd be able to make it through it. And I think that was the biggest thing, that I had faith in myself that, yeah, like this sucks, but I'm Garrett Scantling. Like I can do what I want to do. And I think that now being on the other side of it, yeah, it hurt the whole time, but I'm ready. Like I'm ready to go again. And I knew that day was going to come for sure.
It's so amazing that, you know, like in any sport, like athletes, so much of their identity is tied to what they do, you
Right.
know? And it's like, because, and I don't think like non-athletes quite get that, you know,
Right.
it's like, and it's because you're fully immersed in your sport, especially at that level. It's like
Yes.
everything you do, everything
Yeah.
you do. I mean, even having to update your whereabouts. I mean, it's like everything you do is centered around that particular sport, you know, so it's
Exactly.
you become that, you know. So like I can't imagine that again being snatched, you know. It's like I feel like you've had so many moments where things were snatched from you,
Right.
but you were like, guess what, I'm stronger, I'm going to snatch it back. I love that, you know.
Thank you.
You mentioned the financial component, you know, and I want to talk about that a little bit because this is another thing that I think, you know, people who are not within the track world know.
Right.
Like in many countries, you know, elite athletes like yourself receive so much financial backing. You know,
Yes.
I mean, their families are taken care of, they're taken care of, like they're, you know, paid to train.
Yes.
And that's seen as like a real job, you know,
Mhm.
and they're paid by their country. In the US, the support just often isn't there, you know, and I
Right.
don't want to take away from a lot of the things that have come, you know, probably in the last few years, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's, gosh, I'm talking years of just athletes training and not getting paid, you know, like
Yep.
how do you navigate that, you know, like, and really staying committed and motivated to
Right.
keep striving for the Olympics?
Yeah, it was huge. That was kind of the biggest thing. I think that having Petros was huge for me. I really do, because he supported me all the way through, whether it was monetarily, whether it was like just being able to get me massages, track gear, like everything that I needed, he was there for me. The biggest thing though, once I made the team, I actually got my Nike sponsorship. I got the grants that, you know, come with that. Like if you're first in the USA, there's a Schwartzman fund that they pay you a lump sum that really does support you through the year. And so having those kind of avenues, my contract with Nike was the majority of it was performance based. And so that's why you say everything is about your sport. You're immersed in it. And so like if I was injured, there was no excuse. Like I still got to go. So when I won 2022 US champs, I had a torn oblique. I had just torn my oblique 4 weeks before. So I did all my throwing events in a brace. I did everything, and I PR'd by 250 points. So like I don't know where that came from, but like that's also a testament to all the hard work that we had put into that point. And so the heaviest kind of impact on my life financially was when I got suspended. I got suspended 2 weeks before Worlds. That next week, the grant people reached out. Hey, Garrett, why are you not on the roster? I'm like, well, I'm kind of going through this suspension process, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And they're just like, okay, well, we can't necessarily give you the grant anymore because of that, which I completely understand. But that hurt more than anything else, just because I knew I had qualified for it again. I kind of had it locked up. It's almost like a year thing. Like you're kind of going through the same stress every single year, which I feel like the stress brings the best out of me. So like, that's not something I'm worried about. But the fact that I had finally, gotten rid of it and like, I'm okay for the next year, that was heavy. That was probably the hardest thing to deal with. And so, the biggest thing that I had to do was find my adjustment, find what I was going to do next. And so what I did was my old high school here in Episcopal, in Jacksonville, Florida, it's called Episcopal School of Jacksonville. And I went there from 6th to 12th grade. It's a private high school here. They got about 1,200 students, and they have been the most wonderful people that I have ever been a part of. And like, you understand that as a student, but coming back as a teacher and as a grown-up and seeing how much they actually care about their alumni, care about you as a person, I think that was just like, I get emotional just thinking about it, because honestly, it saved my life. Like it did everything that I needed and it gave me more than I could have ever asked from it. And so financially, they helped me. Spiritually, they helped me. I mean, it's an Episcopalian school. And so like we go to chapel every Wednesday, like it's wonderful. And so I ended up coaching 3 sports. Like I coached middle school football, which was a blast. Like I get out there and I'm running routes and like pushing the kids over. They're trying to hit me. They created a sport for me, which was women's weightlifting. And I'm the head coach. I'm the director of it. And the first year we had 12 girls. Second year we had 24. This past year we had 36. We're the second biggest varsity sport that we have at Episcopal. And I wasn't really like, I didn't know about girls. I have a brother. I have one brother. That's it. Like I didn't grow up with girls. Like that's not. And so just seeing how much confidence they gain and how much like, yeah, they got to compete in the spandex and it's individual. So they have to lift in front of people. But just seeing how much it gives back to them and how much the parents appreciate it. It kind of made me realize that this was definitely God's plan. Like whatever happened to me, like that's fine. Like I can deal with it, but being able to give back to someone who's growing up and who can be very impressionable at that age and being able to give them something that I felt like I got from Episcopal at that age has been a full circle moment. It's been wonderful for me. I mean, I can't explain enough how blessed I am to be able to be a part of that place. So yeah, it's been a lot, but it has brought me to, I feel like, the place I'm meant to be for sure.
Absolutely. And it's such a gift, to be able to take a lot of the things that you learned at the level that you've been training at, and then give, components of that
right
to athletes to help them gain confidence, to help them, really just learn how to trust themselves.
Exactly.
Like that's really what sports, regardless of any sport you do, it's like it really puts you in these opportunities, even if you're not the best at it,
right.
But where you're constantly challenging yourself and then like trusting yourself a little bit more,
Yes.
So
That's
I
huge.
love that you've been able to give that gift. And you're also coaching track too, right?
Yes. So director of field events. So like it's all FHSAA. So like it wasn't a part of like the club stuff. So like when you're suspended by USADA, you can't, there's a thing called prohibited association. So anything that is under the umbrella of USADA, I cannot be a part of. So any club teams had to stay away from. If Petros invited me up to Illinois to announce a track meet or like just be there to support his, I can't do it. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So like Petros offered me a job to be an assistant coach, can't take it. And so like that's kind of been, because my dream is to be an NCAA head coach. I think that that is what I want to do with my life. I feel like I have the background for it, the experience. I feel like I have the voice for it to be able to explain to a group of people what I need from them. And so just kind of being away from that for a while, it has hurt me, like just because I felt like that's what I need to do. But being able to do this at a lower level, and FHSAA is not under USADA's umbrella. Let's get that, not get it twisted. And so being able to do that at a lower level and gain more patience, because these kids are not like super rock. I mean, I definitely have rock stars, but the majority of them are middle schoolers. The majority of them are super young and just learning it. And so being able to have that different perspective has taught me so much more patience and taught me how to coach and be a better athlete in myself. Like I'm coaching myself for the past 3 years and knowing that my leg is supposed to be a little bit further underneath me in the shot put, like knowing what that feels like, knowing what the high jump has, keeping your shoulders away, like things I teach my athletes, I've been able to kind of incorporate in my mind with feel. And so that has taught me so much more too, just being able to train on my own. So there's a lot I've gained from this experience for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And just also just the love of, coaching students, it's like, it's
Yes.
such a beautiful, like I'm not, coaching children besides my own, but,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
what's so beautiful about just coaching in general is such a gift,
Right.
because as much as we're helping them, they're also helping us in so many ways and teaching us
Exactly.
in ways that they can't even imagine. So
Nope.
I am so
No,
grateful.
they have
Grateful.
no clue how much they've helped me. It's been invaluable. And there's no, like, I can't explain to you enough how much I have learned from this experience. And it's going to make me that much better of an athlete. I already know it.
Absolutely. Well, talk to me about another suspension that's kind of switching gears a little bit, but you had so many followers on your Instagram account and you lost it not once, but twice.
Right.
And it took a huge toll on your personal brand on top of all of these other hits that we're talking about, right?
Right.
Like, and I can imagine it hurt, like, not just, opportunities for sponsors, like, or potential sponsors, like, and really just being able to showcase, what you're doing.
Right.
Like, what was that like? Like, first, do you even know why you lost your Instagram account? Like, and why weren't they able to get it back?
So the first time I lost it, it got hacked. It got hacked by somebody and they actually got it back for me. And I think that that was the biggest thing. It was like, all right, we got it back for you once. Now what? Like, and so maybe 6 months later, I post a bunch of track stuff. Like that's the biggest thing. Like sometimes I have my shirt off, sometimes I'm in tights. But the biggest thing that they said was it violates the nudity. Your post violates the nudity, like guidelines or something like that. And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, this is my Instagram. Like, I'm not
All kinds of stuff on Instagram. What?
after all the crap that you see on Instagram, my tights pictures are what does that. So I felt like when they went back in and they saw that, that was kind of like, all right, we can't give this back to you. I mean, I had about 20,000 followers on it. And I explained to them, like, I don't understand like what you're talking about. And I don't know if it had something to do with maybe the people that hacked it again, if what they did to the account, what happened on it. But like I never got a message from someone saying like this person's posting and this isn't you. Like that never happened. And so that whole debacle was very confusing for me. And I took probably 6-7 months to try to get it back. And when I finally, like, I was messaging people on LinkedIn, like who work for Meta, and they were like, I'll try and help you. I'll see what I can do. And then they just kind of went blank. And so after a certain amount of time, I was like, all right, I'm going to take this as a sign. Like, let's just move on from it. And so I had to create a whole new account. And yes, like I have like 1,500 followers, but at the same time, it's like, those are people that actually care about me. And so like that was kind of the biggest thing of my suspension and track and field is understanding how many people just care about the moment and care about who you are when you are at your best. And so those 1,500 people who care about me when I'm at my lowest, those are people I care about the most. And I think it taught me so much about how big my circle is, but also how small it is at the same time. Like my parents always taught me that it takes a village to raise somebody, especially to be at the Olympics. And so knowing that my village is still there, and that I think the biggest explosion on my Instagram was when Leslie Jones put me on blast at the Olympics for because when I compete at the Olympics, I compete in a speed suit. And so I fix my pants a lot. And so she put me on blast. I think her quote was, "Don't put baby in the corner," is what she said. And everybody knows where that came from. But I got probably 15,000 followers from that. And that's kind of where I blew up. But at the same time, like, I don't know those people. It's all good. Like, I'm not really worried about that. And so, like I said, having that concentrated village now that I have on my Instagram of people who actually care about me as a person, it's completely reshaped my perspective on social media. And because they took away my Facebook too. And I've had my Facebook since 2005. It had all my pictures from elementary, like not elementary school, but middle school, and like everything on it. And so like it hurt, but at the same time, it's all good. Like it's a refresh. And so this is the new Garrett, and it is what it is.
I love your perspective, and I'm sure in the moment it sucked, but it was so interesting. Like with my Facebook, I think I had like, I don't know, close to 5,000 people on Facebook. Facebook doesn't grow the same as Instagram. It's just different.
Right.
But I just deleted it one day. Like I was like, it wasn't serving me in the way that I needed it to serve me. And and my cousin, I remember, was looking at me like, "Wait, you're just going to delete it?" Because we were talking about cleansing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, we have two definitions of cleansing. I'm like, I'm an all or nothing. I'm like,
wipe it all off. That's
I'm going to just get rid of it all, So she was going through and deleting people. I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I just deleted it.
Yeah.
And it was like, in the moment, I was like, oh my God, I did that. That's so cool, But I was also like, I can imagine, like, for people, if this was not their choice, like how that would feel, know? Like, so I can't imagine, like, if someone deleted mine today, like, I would be like probably devastated.
Yeah, I mean, you could feel it inside that, like, it's this is not what I wanted. But at the end, it kind of took me a little while to realize that's a nice cleanse. And you're right. Just it's fine. Let's move on. Like, so that's. Yeah, it was definitely a little devastating at first.
Just from your photos and you probably had videos.
Well, I had all of my Olympic experience and the bubbles, like everything. And so, I mean, I still have the videos of it, which, I mean, that's what matters the most. If I want to go back and swipe through and look at me spitting into a little cup for my COVID test, I can do that. Like, I can do that.
Gosh. Well, something you mentioned that I just love, because I believe this too. We talk about it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village for us adults too.
Yes.
And we were not meant to do life alone. We're supposed to do it in community, even if your community is very small.
Right.
But you kind of mentioned Brian Harbin, who I had on, and Soul Fueler, who will be airing soon. But you mentioned him as being a guiding light in your life. Who were some others, like personally or professionally, besides, your coach, that you mentioned, who kind of inspired you?
I'd say the biggest, I mean, I know I mentioned Petros a bunch. I mean, obviously he's had probably the most profound impact on my life, but I think also another one is my other coach from high school. His name is Pat Crandall. He was my English teacher. So he was always the first one to check up on me after my suspension. He came to both of my Olympic trials. He actually passed away last year. He has definitely been one of the most impactful people in my life. But I also will say my mom and my dad. My mom is one of the strongest women I know, just because of everything she's been through, but just the fact that they love me no matter what, through everything I've been through. And I have my brother. My brother's my favorite person in this world. So my brother, he played baseball at Florida State. He got drafted to the Detroit Tigers, made it all the way to AAA, tore his labrum. And it's like, he went through some of the same adversity that I went through. Everything kind of stopped immediately for him. And just seeing him being able to fight through that, he now has 2 kids, beautiful wife. They live out in Green Cove Springs. He's 6'8". So he's a very, very tall human being, but he has the biggest heart, and he's just a big teddy bear. And like anything that I ever need, he is always there for me. No questions asked. And so just having that. So when I go to USA's and world champs this year, his big thing is he wants everyone to be able to follow along with the competition. So he makes a spreadsheet of everybody's PRs, what they expect to do in each event, and he hands them out to my family so that they can kind of track everything that we're doing. And so I think that kind of speaks to the relationship that we've had over the years. Yes, we argued a bunch as kids, but once we grew up, like, we appreciated each other so much and supported each other no matter what. And so I feel like he is the most influential person that I have in my life. And I don't know where I would be without him. So my brother is my favorite for sure. I'm about to cry just saying it. Like, he's awesome. His name is Hunter. So Hunter, shout out to you, brother.
Shout out to you. I love it. Oh my gosh. And to your parents.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Ordinary humans. So I love that. I love that you had that blueprint,
Yes.
and watching your brother go through things. And
it was huge.
My siblings had that with me,
Yes.
It's like I knew there's so much pressure being the oldest that, only an older, sibling would be able to.
I don't understand it at all.
But it's like, we have to set the tone.
Yes.
For the families. For me, I set the tone by making sure that I, did what I say I was going to do, and I earned a scholarship. Then I transitioned that same energy into, the professional world. So it's
right.
like, my siblings, even if they don't give me credit today,
they know it. Trust me, they know it.
They know, look, it's fine if they don't say it, but I know they know.
Exactly.
So, but I love that you speak about him like that, yes. Because it could have went completely different. You guys could have been so competitive against each other, and it could have, drove a wedge. So
exactly,
you didn't let it do that.
That's kind of why I didn't play baseball either. I just kind of like, you got it, bro. This sport's a little too slow for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so different. It is such a different tempo, speed, everything.
Yeah. Well, they put me in center field. And like I said, that ADHD don't play with like not being able to focus. I was doing cartwheels, playing with birds and stuff. Yeah, nope.
Oh my goodness. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like so much adversity has happened throughout your life, but you have such a beautiful attitude around it.
Thank you.
If you could speak to someone directly, who's in their season of setbacks, like you've been, athlete or non-athlete, like, what would you say about just resilience and, leaning in and choosing to keep going?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is that time moves on, and it's like, you're going to get through it no matter what. And so either you're going to come out a worse person or you're going to come out a better person. There's really no in between. And so just feel it, feel the pain, feel the adversity, feel that, yeah, I made this mistake and I did wrong, but there's always something that you can take from it. Always, always, always. And no matter what the situation is, I just believe that adversity doesn't reveal character. It makes it. And so I really think that if you're going through something, no matter what it is, just focus on the end, focus on what you're doing to get to the end. And I promise the end will come eventually. It will come. And you want to be better coming out of it than worse. So that would be the biggest advice I could give somebody.
Yeah, beautiful advice. And I think it's such a gift, like as hard as it is, like, it is truly a gift, like both of our, jewels and thorns is what I like to call them.
Yes.
Are both beautiful, because it's really a part of our journey, and we can talk about being able to pull ourselves out of, and be really a shining light for others like you are.
Right.
And so, it's like I'm looking at your journey, and it's been filled with so many amazing moments, but also some really, really hard moments,
right.
where things have just been snatched from you. And you have this tenacity about yourself and this grit to just keep going, and it's like, that you're a shining light for others. So
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you now. Like, you're giving me energy,
Well, you say that word grit, and you just interviewed Brian, and I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing for me is that the fact that somebody came to me from Episcopal. Both his sons go to Episcopal, and his motto is grit.org, grit everything. And I felt like once again God laid that out in front of me and basically sent him as a messenger, and he has been absolutely wonderful for me. Whether it's mental, he's taught me how to journal, he's taught me how to like really read some impactful books that have really helped my outlook on life. And like just the fact that those type of people are put in front of you without you having to do anything, I think that just speaks to the testament of having faith in yourself and having faith in God and just letting life happen. So it's been huge.
Yeah. But I call people like him, like your destiny helpers,
Yes.
and it's like when you are doing what God has called you to do, and I think we're called many times. So
Yeah.
it's not just one thing you're called to do, So I talk to people about purpose a lot, and it's like your purpose is different in a lot of different seasons,
Right.
Sometimes your purpose is just to work on yourself, like, and so like whatever your purpose is or whatever stage you're in, it's like I feel like God brings destiny helpers,
Right.
like as long as you're kind of doing what you need to do, and he just moves you forward a little bit, brick by brick. It's like
That's an awesome way to
so
look at it.
Brian feels like such a beautiful, destiny helper for you. Like, and
He
I love
absolutely is.
like he's such a great human,
Yeah,
and just that having that energy around you,
exactly.
I can imagine.
It rubs off on me a little bit. So hey, I'll take
Okay.
that any chance I can get.
Shout out to Brian.
Shout out, Mr. Harvin.
Love it. Well, now you talk about your next chapter as a comeback. Okay.
Yes.
Like, what does that word personally mean to you? And, what's fueling this return, because you're heading towards the Olympics
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I mean, when you say comeback, it's just like everything that I've been through the past 3 years is just a culmination of this. I knew from the beginning, I made the decision, Garrett, I'm going to make it through these 3 years and I'm going for it again. Like that's like, I have no doubt in my mind that I'm going to, whether it's terrible, whether it's good, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go for it. And so for me though, I'm such a perfectionist whenever it comes to the sport of the decathlon. If I didn't think that I was going to be better, if not where I was in the beginning, I wouldn't do it. Like I just know myself well enough to where I put in the work, and having a comeback that's this monumental for me, I know that I'm going to get out of it what I want to get out of it. And so I'm excited beyond words. My grace period started 2 days ago. And so I'm free to join groups. I'm free to go back to Petros. Obviously, I have a commitment to Episcopal, so I'm going to finish that out and then go join him in the summer. But I think the biggest thing for the comeback is just showing the world that things happen to you that maybe you don't justify in your head. Like punishment doesn't fit the crime. Like, yeah, that's fine, but they're going to happen to you regardless. But what is that going to do to you? What are you going to come out on the other end? And I feel like in training and just feeling mentally ready, I feel leaps and bounds ahead of where I was in 2022. Even physically, I am stronger in the weight room. I PR'd by 15 pounds in the power clean like 3 weeks ago. Like I am clicking on all cylinders. And so if I can stay healthy, which that's the one thing, Father Time don't play. And so once you start getting up to the 30s and 31, I'm 31 years old now, which I feel like the prime age of the decathlon is 27 to 32, which they got me at the right time for sure. But I feel like I can redefine that. And so just feeling the way that I do right now, I am so excited. So my first competition is going to be June 27th and 28th. I'm going to do a decathlon here in Jacksonville at Bowles High School. And I'm going to do it in front of my friends and family because I feel like if I can compete in front of them, I don't care who I'm competing in front of. And so I'll do that to qualify for USA's. if I would have came in third at the Olympics, I would not have to requalify for USA's. But since I came in fourth, that's another thing. That's fine. I have to requalify. And so I'll go to USA's in Eugene, which are July 31st and the 1st of August. And top 3 go to Worlds, which are in Tokyo this year. So another full circle moment going back to Tokyo. And hopefully, if things work out, my whole family can come this time. So a lot of things in the works. A lot of things in the works.
So many things. Oh my goodness. Well, I just want to say, like, for anyone who feels aligned with your work, your messaging today, like, whether it's to connect with you and explore partnerships or discuss endorsement opportunities, I know that you're open.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's my new Instagram _GScant this
One
time.
that hasn't been snatched from you. Okay.
So the good thing is my last Instagram was GScant _, and now it's _GScant. So it's pretty similar. I also just, with the help of Brian Harbin, just released gscant.com. So that is a website that you can contact me at. You can go buy a shirt that supports me. It looks like this. I've got a little store on there too, but it just kind of gives you an update of what I'm doing in the future. Like I said, I'm excited, and it's the past couple of days. It's been kind of hard to contain my excitement because I feel so free after being so handcuffed for the past 3 years. But
you're so free, you shaved your head.
Yeah, you see that? Now I look just like I do on the shirt, just like I do on the poster. Like, I'm more aerodynamic. I'm faster this way. So.
Faster. You probably shaved. That's probably why you PR'd,
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. What a treat to talk to you. I love track and field. I will be following your every move, cheering you on, praying for you, praying for your health.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing that, again, it's like, during this time leading up to it, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
We didn't even get into that, I can imagine what that looks like.
Right. And it can happen like that too.
Yeah. Injuries. I mean, just even not even doing your sport, injuries can happen, so I will be, praying for God's cover over you as you climb this next mountain.
Thank you, Damesha. I appreciate you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Again, follow Garrett. I'll put all of his stuff down in the chat. And if you could do us a favor, put your favorite part about this interview in the comments or anything that you learned. I know I learned a couple things from him. So I'm so grateful. And, as always, have an amazing Sunday.